In the quiet hills of Ross Township, Pennsylvania, a 350-pound black bear paced behind a chain-link fence, massive, powerful, and ruled by instincts as old as the forest themselves. What happens when years of trust between a devoted owner and a wild predator shatter in an instant? Stay with us as we uncover the chilling true story of Kellyanne Walls, a tale that forced an entire community and the nation to confront the danger of bringing the wild too close to home. Welcome to True Animal Terrors, where real danger meets real stories. Don't look away. In the wild, these creatures are where they're meant to be, roaming dense forests, moving like shadows through undergrowth, their power honed by generations of survival. Majestic, powerful, untamed. But what happens when you bring that wildness home? When you open your heart and your backyard to a predator, Kellyanne Walls did exactly that. At 37 years old, she was more than a mother of two in the quiet rural reaches of Ross Township, Pennsylvania. She was a woman convinced she shared an unbreakable bond with one of nature's most formidable animals, a 350-pound black bear she had raised from its earliest days. For years, the relationship felt safe. For years, she believed love could temper instinct. And then on a still Sunday afternoon, that illusion shattered. In front of her children, Kelly stepped into the cage. In the next heartbeat, her beloved bear turned predator. Imagine the sound of your children's screams colliding with the deep growl of a wild animal. The weight of 350 pounds of raw muscle and claws pressing you into the ground, and the dawning, crushing realization that there is no way out. Ross Township was a place where life was simple and private. Neighbors kept to themselves, and the sight of an exotic animal behind a fence didn't draw the same shock it might elsewhere. This was where the line between wild and domestic blurred. Kelly was known as a devoted animal lover. Those who knew her said she was careful, not careless. She wasn't naive. She held state-issued permits that legally allowed her to keep exotic animals. In her mind, those papers, combined with years of care and trust, meant safety. Above all, she believed her love could tame instinct. Among her animals, the bear was different. She had raised him from a young age, bottle-fed him, cleaned his cage, built daily routines around his needs. To her, he was family. To him, she believed she was more than just a caretaker. She was a trusted presence. But black bears are not dogs. They remain tied to instincts forged over thousands of years. It's easy to forget that when you see them every day, when routine dulls the sense of danger. Kelly's routine was simple: walk into the cage, clean feed, provide water. She did it with confidence. Maybe it was trust. Maybe it was a false sense of security. Wildlife officials often warn a bear raised in captivity is not domesticated. It is merely familiar with its handler, and familiarity can be dangerously misleading. Experts say it plainly: bears cannot be tamed. Neighbors occasionally saw the bear pacing its massive body, shifting with restrained energy, its gaze sharp and calculating. On Sunday, October 4th, 2009, the morning was crisp and quiet, the scent of fallen leaves in the air. Kelly's modest home set back from the road, the chain-link enclosure for her bear visible from a distance. Her children, ages 9 and 12, played outside with friends, their laughter carrying faintly through the yard. At 9:10 a.m., Kelly walked toward the cage, bucket in one hand, cleaning tools in the other. Routine. She stepped inside to clear waste, refill water, and lay out fresh food. At 9:15, the children's voices still floated nearby, light and carefree. To them, this was just another Sunday morning. Nothing seemed unusual. The bear waited calmly as Kelly worked. But wildness doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it simmers in silence, waiting for a moment to erupt. At approximately 9:20, it happened. Without a sound of warning, the bear lunged. The massive weight slammed into her, knocking her to the ground. Claws and teeth found flesh in a blur of violent instinct. Her children's screams ripped through the quiet, high-pitched and panicked. The bear growled, a deep, unyielding sound, as it pinned her down. Neighbors would later call it the most terrifying thing they'd ever heard: the sounds of a struggle, the desperate cries of children, and the low, guttural roar of a predator refusing to release its grip. One neighbor, hearing the chaos, grabbed a rifle and sprinted toward the enclosure. He knew there was no time to wait for emergency responders. He could see her. Kelly was on the ground, the bear towering over her, its massive frame pressing her into the dirt with a weight no human could escape. Every second felt like a lifetime. His hands shook as he raised the rifle, the chaos of screams and growls pounding in his ears. Was it already too late? He didn't have time to think. One deafening shot cracked through the morning air, then another. The bear staggered, its head jerking, and at last it released her. But the damage was done. The moment the animal collapsed, the enclosure fell into an eerie silence, broken only by the panicked cries of children and the ragged breaths of a woman who would never stand again. Kellyanne Walls was gone. First responders arrived within minutes, but there was nothing they could do. Her children, still trembling and frozen in shock, had seen it all. Their laughter from earlier that morning was now buried under screams of disbelief and grief. By that afternoon, word of the tragedy had swept across Ross Township. Neighbors gathered in hushed clusters, their voices low, their faces pale. This was a woman they knew, a devoted mother, an animal lover, someone who seemed in control of her unusual life. She loved that bear, one neighbor murmured, tears brimming. No one thought it would ever turn on her. Not Kelly. Others whispered about the children, about the trauma they would carry for the rest of their lives. The quiet Pennsylvania community couldn't reconcile the image of the calm enclosure they had seen for years with the violence that had unfolded inside it. Some blamed the danger of keeping such animals at home. Others defended her, pointing to her permits, her proper care, her experience. But the unshakable truth hovered in every conversation: if it could happen to Kelly, it could happen to anyone who believed they had tamed the wild. Investigators soon began piecing together the chain of events. Wildlife specialists didn't mince words. Wild animals do not forget what they are. Dr. John Beecham, an expert in bear behavior, explained that even the calmest captive bear can attack without warning if startled, stressed, or asserting dominance. Black bears are opportunistic, powerful, and capable of killing in seconds. Kelly had followed the law, but the law itself offered no real shield against instinct. In 2009, Pennsylvania required permits for certain exotic animals, but lacked the oversight to truly ensure public safety or the welfare of the creatures. And Pennsylvania wasn't alone. That same year, a Connecticut woman was mauled by a 200-pound chimpanzee she had raised from infancy, a case so brutal it made national headlines. In Florida, an Ohio escaped, or aggressive big cats forced lawmakers to confront the same question Ross Township now faced. Can wild animals ever be safely kept in private hands? Kelly's death was no longer just a personal tragedy. It became a cautionary tale that resonated across the country. Thousands of Americans live alongside wild animals, lions and tigers, in rural compounds, primates in suburban living rooms, bears behind backyard fences. Sometimes those arrangements last years without incident. Too often they end in disaster. Experts say the truth is simple, and hard wild animals can never be fully domesticated. They may tolerate human presence, even seem tame, but their instincts remain intact. A black bear in a forest and a black bear in a backyard are the same creature, a predator built for survival. For neighbors living near such animals, the risks are real. Wildlife advocates urge vigilance. Know who in your community keeps these creatures, understand emergency procedures if one escapes or turns aggressive, and push for stronger regulations. Kelly's story forced many to reconsider the thin line between fascination and responsibility, and whether the price of crossing it is one a community can bear. It was a story that showed in the starkest way possible how quickly love for the wild can tip into a deadly gamble, one that endangers not only the life of the owner, but the safety of everyone who lives nearby. When the reporters packed up their cameras and investigators closed their case files, one question still hung heavy in the air, unanswered and unavoidable. How many more lives will it take before we finally accept that the wild does not belong in our backyards? It's a question that ignites heated debate. Should the private ownership of wild animals be banned outright, or should individuals have the right to keep them under strict laws and rigorous safety measures? It's a conversation that cuts deep into the heart of freedom and personal responsibility, and into the fine, dangerous line between human fascination and reckless endangerment. Would you feel safe knowing that just beyond your backyard fence, your neighbor kept a 350-pound black bear, or a lion, or a chimpanzee? Would you let your children play outside knowing that a single mistake, a single unlatched gate could change their lives forever? The reality is sobering, and it's closer than most of us realize. We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Should these animals be kept at all, or has the time come for lawmakers to draw a hard, unshifting line between the wild and our neighborhoods? Your opinions matter, because what happened here isn't just a Ross Township story, it's a warning for every community. We'll feature some of your responses in a future video as we continue exploring these difficult, necessary conversations. Kellyanne Walls loved her bear. She nurtured it, cared for it, and trusted it in a way few could even comprehend. But love, no matter how fierce, no matter how constant, can't rewrite nature's code. A wild predator will always remain what it has been for millennia, a creature bound to instincts that affection cannot erase. Her death is more than a personal tragedy. It's a haunting lesson about the limits of human control and the danger in believing we can tame what was never ours to command. Ross Township will carry the memory of that Sunday morning in 2009 for generations. And so should we. Kellyanne Walls' story is a sobering reminder that no amount of love, care, or familiarity can erase the instincts of a predator. It forces us to ask, should the wild ever share our neighborhoods, or is that a gamble too great for anyone to take? If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life encounters that inform caution and challenge the way we think about nature. We'd love to hear your opinions and your own experiences on where the line between human fascination and safety should be drawn. Thanks for watching and for respecting the wild by staying aware.